According to the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, the city of Mazatlan is basically the only small area in the entire state of Sinaloa that is considered safe to travel to. The embassy has Sinaloa classified as a level 4 do not travel area, noting that there is widespread crime across the state and especially on the highways. So, of course, this sounds like a great place to go visit on a cruise, right? I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. I've been making travel videos for over 15 years of popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. And on our third day of cruising on the NCL Bliss, we were greeted by a beautiful sunrise as we sailed into the port of Mazatlan, and shortly after we arrived, the Carnival Forenza sailed into port too. I love watching the other ships sail in and out of port, and I always wave at the passengers on the other ship. Do you wave? I love it, and I love to see how many people I can get to wave back. Of course, there are many ship-sponsored excursions you can book in Mazatlan, and if you're feeling weary about any of it, then that's probably the best way to see Mazatlan. But if you do decide you want to explore on your own, or even if you just want to visit the little shopping and dining area at the entrance to the port, you're going to have to take this little tram. Since the ships dock in a working harbor area, passengers are not allowed to walk around on their own. The train was free for our cruise, but of course the drivers appreciate a tip. I think the ride took like 3 minutes and we were dropped off right by the terminal building. Once you get in there, if you walk all the way through the shopping area, through the outside area, then be prepared to be bombarded by taxi drivers offering you a tour or transportation, but this is pretty standard for cruises in Mexico and also most Mediterranean ports too. To exit the harbor and find the famous blue line, which will lead you into the heart of the old city, go under this blue arch and cross the street. And then it's as easy as just walking along the line to the city center. Along the way, there are sections where parts of the line are kind of missing, and then there's a few corners where you have to look for the signs pointing you in the right direction because for just a little bit of space, there is no line. And along the way, you will also be greeted by the blue-shirted guides that will hand you a map and answer any questions you have. I read that there were originally armed guards along the blue line, but the city quickly realized that that did not make tourists feel more comfortable walking around, so they were replaced with these friendly locals who speak fantastic English.
What's a little bit weird to me is that other than us, there's actually nobody walking this way right now, but if this video goes online, you'll know we survived.
Oh, and if you need the toilet along the way, you can use this one if you want, but it is not Morgan approved. And no, of course, that's not really a public toilet. It is an interesting design choice, don't you think? Altogether, it took us about 15 minutes to reach the Plazuela Machado, and we were lucky enough that some of the decorations from the Dia de los Muertos celebration were still in place. So you can see here on the map, from the Plazuela Machado, it's just a short walk to the cathedral, and it's not much further to get to the beach and the boardwalk. And if you want to do what we did, then head over to the cathedral first. Construction was started in the late 1800s and then was suspended for almost 20 years due to political unrest and the French attempt to recolonize Mexico in the 1860s. The building was completed in 1899, and it's just as beautiful as many of the cathedrals here in Europe, so if you're into that kind of thing, definitely check it out. From there, we walked back to the square and then towards the beach, and on the way over there, we realized that there are just a ton of restaurants in this area, and we already started looking forward to lunch. The beach here is called Olas Altas and includes a long walkable promenade passing a lot of other restaurants and admittedly some buildings that were either in a state of disrepair or state of repair, I guess you could say. It didn't look sketchy to us, it just seemed like some buildings needed some work done. We enjoyed walking along the promenade, listening to the waves crash against the rocks, and on the way we stopped at this wild water slide and walled off swimming hole. Doesn't this thing look cool? Oh, and just FYI, the wet concrete is really, really slippery, so please be careful. If not, you're gonna fall down, break your hip, and then probably slide into the ocean with a broken hip, and we just don't have time for that today. A little ways up from the water slide is the El Clavadista Tower, where you can watch locals diving off the railing into the rocky waters below. And speaking of things I don't have time for, oh my gosh, I almost had a heart attack watching this. After each diver takes the plunge, they will climb up the rocks and collect tips, so if you want to watch, bring some dollars or pesos with you to reward these guys who basically risk their lives for our entertainment. I started wondering if they really like doing this, or maybe if it's some kind of punishment and they don't actually have a choice. From there, we walked back the direction we came and decided to stop for a light refreshment. One thing we noticed in all of the Mexican ports we stopped in on this cruise was how expensive drinks were. I mean, $160 for a cocktail? Are they out of their mind? Okay, I'm kidding. These are the prices in pesos, which means the drinks were actually really inexpensive. I would say the average price for cocktails was less than $10 everywhere we went. We sat here with a huge iced tea and a huge Coke and a view of the ocean, and the bill was like $5 with tip. The restaurant we had the soft drinks at was not serving food yet, so we did some window shopping at the other restaurants and ended up at a friendly little place called La Mocajateria. There were other restaurants that looked more polished and bright from the outside or had a good view of the ocean, but Marcus and I have had some of our favorite meals going to places like this that are not on the main streets. Everything at this place was served in these stone bowls, and it was so tasty. I wish my stomach was bigger. The staff was really chatty and friendly, and they even gave us a menu to take back to Germany with us. So check out this price. We both had an appetizer, a main course, and 2 alcoholic drinks, and our total bill was 900 pesos, which is like $45 for an entire meal with drinks. And since the prices were so low and the temperature was pleasantly high, of course we had to stop for one more cool refreshment on the way back to the ship. I mean, you can't not, right? So we went back to the plaza and found our way to the cocktail bar in the inner courtyard of the Hotel Machado. They had a lot of tables set up out on the street side, but this inner courtyard had so much atmosphere and a huge old tree with artwork surrounding it. Eventually, it was time to head back to the ship, so we followed the blue line back to the harbor, got on the tram, and enjoyed the cool breeze as we traveled to the Carnival Firenze.
Oops.
Not quite sure how that happened, but our tram driver was nice enough to drop us off at the Bliss on his way back to pick up more cruisers. So altogether, I can only say, from our experience in the old city of Mazatlan, we did not feel unsafe. There was not a moment that felt sketchy or stressful, but we did stay in the touristy areas, and it seemed to me like the city was doing a lot of things to accommodate tourists and make us feel welcome. In fact, some felt so welcome that they came back to the ship about 20 minutes too late. It's a good thing we waited for them, but tomorrow in Puerto Vallarta, 2 people were not so lucky. Make sure you check back soon if you want to see what happened there, and also hear about our 4-wheeler tour through the jungle. Warning, spiders. Really big spiders. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. Bye-bye.